By the way, will this recording be available?
Yeah, it'll be on the YouTube channel.
Uh,
So if you've got other people who want to see, yeah, if you've got anyone else who wants to see. Okay, very good day to everyone, and welcome to the Hibiscus Coast Astronomical Society live stream. Uh, as I said, we've got a really great speaker tonight, Piripi Lambert, who is probably one of the premier Maori astronomers at the moment. And I've been following him for quite some time on Facebook, and I think it's going to be a really excellent talk. You're going to have to bear with us for a little bit because we had a bit of an issue with the PowerPoint, so I'll be running the PowerPoint while he's speaking, and hopefully everything will go to plan. So there we go. Just a reminder that in 2 days' time, on the 9th, we've got another talk with Anthony Gomez from Wellington Astronomical Society as well. So just keep tuned for that one. But without any further ado, I'll say very good day to you, Piripi, and thanks so much for doing this. I really appreciate it. I can see there's quite a lot of people already tuning in. So
Kia ora.
I'd say take it away.
Kia ora, ka nui te mihi kia koutou. Nau mai hara mai ki te kouwhau o ngā whetū. So welcome. I'm looking at a blank screen right now. That's cool. I'll just keep talking. So that was actually a nice introduction by Richard, saying that I am one of the premier Maori astronomers. Okay, I'll take that. So my name is Piripi Lambert. I am ko rangatane, ko Ngāti Pawa, ko te whānau o Hine Rupe, ko Roapani, Oku Iwi. Those are just some of the iwi that I come from. And I'll mention Tūhoi. I'm a fellow Tūhoi, like Taktarangi Mātā Moa, who you're all familiar with. So just a little bit about me. I suppose there's some technical issues with showing the first slide, but so I have been studying the stars as it was taught by Tupuna for a long time. I'm actually a descendant of Parare Tamwana. He's my great-great-grandfather. He's from Hastings. And he, in the 1920s, actually way back in 1895, he started to publish his maramataka. And if you don't know what a maramataka is, it's a lunar calendar, a Maori lunar calendar. And so Grandpa used to publish those, and he used to do predictions for a month. They would then publish it in the newspaper, and by the 1920s, they became very popular. So much so that he decided to publish an almanac, a Maori almanac. And when I've done my research looking for different maramataka around the motu, around New Zealand, you'll see that many Maori actually used his maramataka. And another interesting thing about this grandpa's work is that he would publish weather forecasts, and he would forecast the weather using Maori traditional knowledge. And a reporter had read an article back in the 1940s saying that Grandpa was actually quite accurate, 100% accurate. And he put some of that knowledge in his almanac of how he would read the weather. And Grandpa would also talk about the stars and the stars of a particular month. One piece of kōrero that Grandpa had was that the maramataka was actually quite dynamic. So most of the maramataka that you may come across or know about have about 29 to 31 moons or phases in them. And Grandpa would use up to 34 different types of moons, because what he noticed is that the moons would swap and change or move position. Now that's quite counterintuitive to the Western idea of moon phases. We know these are around about 29.4, 29.5 moon phases in a month. And you can track it, and like, I know I'm preaching to the choir because you're all very tino in your knowledge around the stars and the moon and that sort of thing, but you can track it according to the sun. And Maori actually had pūrākau or traditions around the sun and the moon being a brother and sister, and they would talk to each other. And when you go deep into those narratives, those pūrākau, you can actually extrapolate observations or the movements of the sun and the moon in the taiao. And so Grandpa would talk about how dynamic the maramataka is. Now, I found Grandpa's writings many years ago and was quite astounded at just how detailed his knowledge was. And so in a way, I feel like I'm picking up where Grandpa left. So Grandpa had an unbroken history of observation. So if we were to take those dates, 1895 to 1940, which was the date that a particular gentleman in Hastings decided to interview him, Grandpa said that by 1940, the particular moon, which is called the Otani moon, all means belonging to Tani, the god Tani, or the Atua Tani. And he said by the 1940s, that particular moon shifted in the maramataka. Like I said, it's very counterintuitive. The maramataka, the moon, the way that what our tupuna discovered was that the moon doesn't behave in a mechanical way. It really doesn't. I'm going to give you an example. So recently, I think it was only just last week. It was Thursday, Friday. Thursday, many of you remember, was very, very cold. We had a cold snap. Now, when I finished work, I had a look at the moon. I had a look at the colour of the moon, and it looked very, very white. In fact, it reminded me of the type of white that you see on Ruapehu. So it looked like there was snow on the moon. I know that sounds very quaint, but it was cold. Now, the following day, I looked at the moon again at the same time, but I noticed that it wasn't so cold and there wasn't a cold chill. I made a prediction. So before I looked at the moon, I felt the temperature, and I made a prediction that the moon would look different and it would be a different hue or a different color, because the weather wasn't as cold as it was that time, even though the sun had come up and brought the cold with it. This is Maori's thinking here. I looked at the moon, and sure enough, it was a different color. It didn't look the same type of white. So these are the types of observations our tupuna had. And how do you explain, in a Western point of view, a maramataka or a calendar that has 32 phases if there's only 29.5 phases or days in the lunation or the lunar calendar? So there's some explanations behind that. But so in a way, like I said, I feel like I've taken up kind of the mental and I feel very privileged to have a tupuna who I can go back to and go through his writings. It's a very special thing. If we go to the next slide, if that's possible. So a couple of years ago, I was taken under the wing by a tohunga from Ngāti Tarawhai. After years of research and talking to the old people and receiving kōrero from Kuia and Kaumātua and going through the old manuscripts, I have to say that meeting this tohunga actually turned everything upside down for me in terms of my worldview and Te Ao Māori. And I struggled with his teachings because we used to butt heads a lot, and I would say, well, what about this, da 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 da. It took me a while to stop and listen to what he had to say. And over time, a lot of pieces of the puzzle started to fit, and a lot of the kōrero that I actually had, which I thought was kind of different from what he was teaching, I found that it actually made more sense. So my knowledge had just soared in terms of traditional Māori knowledge around the stars, around the universe, around cosmology, exponentially. Now, I don't know if you're able to play the video, but before you do, this is just a kapa haka or a poi dance. It's done at a special place. It's special because this place is called Lake Okataina, and this is where our ancient whare wānanga of the Ngāti Tarawhai people were situated. So if you can go ahead and play that for a few minutes, and then we'll get on with the rest of the kōwhai.
Okay, great. So I'm about to start it now.
Cool.
Let's hope it plays.
Okay, if you can't get it, it's fine. We'll just...
Let's playing a few seconds and then stop it. I'll try one more time.
Okay, no, that's fine. No, let's keep the point. We'll move on to the next slide. So, come 2020, I have decided to open the Whare Tātai Arorangi, which is the Maori astronomy school. It's actually the first Maori astronomy school to be opened in the modern era. And it's simply called the Whare Tātai Arorangi, with the subtitle Tango Tango ko Tango Tango Rawa ko Wainui. Now, if you're following Rangi Mata Mua's kōrero, you'll know that from his tupuna Te Kōkau, the stars come from that marriage of Tango Tango and Wainui. The kōrero that we're basing that particular subtitle is actually from a tupuna by the name of Hamiora Pio. He's from Ngāti Awa, he's from Whakatane. And we have much of his kōrero around the stars and whakapapa. So we're opening the Whare Tātai Arorangi this coming Saturday. I've already been interviewed on TV. Newspapers are going to interview me later this week. We're going to have a dawn ceremony. It's actually going to be quite an elaborate affair because if you extend that out, it would be the first astronomical school, Indigenous astronomical school in the Pacific. The only other school like it that's similar is the navigational school up north of the Wakahaurua, which is a navigational school that teaches traditional navigation using the stars. that our tupuna used when they came over from Hawaii. That's up north. So there's a lot of exciting things happening. So if you wanted to come, places actually filling up quite fast. You'll need to RSVP. The way that you do that is you pause the video when we get it recorded. You look down at the bottom left-hand corner of this particular flyer that you're looking at, and you contact Miri Anahona and RSVP. There is a $10 koha that the Marae Committee have asked people to bring. Next slide. Okay. Really what this kofo is about, kofo means presentation, means talk, means speech. The purpose of this kofo is actually to talk about Matariki. Many of you now become very familiar with these particular stars. And these stars in this kōrero comes from Tūhoi, which comes from Rangi Mātāmoa. And I am grateful that he's come out with this kōrero, and me and him share kōrero privately. And I'm grateful that he's come out with this kōrero. However, it's become convention. It's become the orthodox version, and it's not. One thing I want to explain. Maori, when you say Maori, we don't all come under that. We're not all the same people. We're just not. Our whakapapa is different. We come off different waka. We have different traditions. We teach the traditions differently. We have different versions. We have different reo or mita, dialect, and we're not all Maori. We're Maori, but we're not all one people. So what's really interesting and about this is that it's become very popular. Just the other day, I think it was yesterday, or was it today, I made a comment about a Matariki video that was put up by the Star Dome up in Auckland. And I said to them, hey, the version that you're teaching is from Tūhoi, but that's not the only version. Okay, so let's go to the next slide. Here's another version. This version comes from Wallace Wihongi, a kaumātua who was in his 80s. He was the last tohunga of the whare wānanga called Marino Kato, whare wānanga of Nukutawhiti. Nukutawhiti is the grandson of Kupe. Now, let me just explain something to you. You will be quite amazed at just how amazing the Maori people are. There is so much kōrero and so much tradition in indigenous practice that would amaze you, and you would have a completely different outlook on the Maori people. So he was the last tohunga of the whare wānanga Marino Kato. The whare wānanga is an esoteric school. It teaches two types of knowledge, the upper jawbone and the lower jawbone, te kauwairunga and te kauwairaro. The kauwairunga, which is the upper jawbone, is all kōrero to do with cosmology. Okay? And the lower jawbone is everything from rangi and papa down. And all the kōrero such as weaving, maurako, da-da-da-da-da. That's the basic, very basic explanation of the whare wānanga. But it's an esoteric school. And if you look there at his list, he doesn't include Matariki itself, but he has two stars there that are not included in Mātāmoa's list, which is Hunana and Papatuanuku. Many of you are scratching your head right now. Papatuanuku? I thought we were standing on Papatuanuku. But the kōrero that was given to me by Te Koha Wihongi, which is the son of Wallace Wihongi, and I knew Wallace. I went up north and I spent some time with him. He's now passed away. He's gone to Ururangi. Ururangi is one of the stars in Matariki. So their tradition up there, Kaikohe, or Awarua, is that when you die, you go to the star Ururangi. That's different from the kōrero that Rangi Mātāmoa gives. So Te Koha Wihongi gave me that kōrero that, yes, Papatuanuku is the name of the planet we are on, but it is also a name of one of the stars in the cluster of Matariki. Now, let me give you another tradition. Maui, and you all know Maui. You would have grown up with the stories of Maui in primary school. You will know that Maui fished up to Ika on Maui, which is this land. One of his whare wānanga, or his esoteric schools, in fact, one kaumātua down at Ruatoria, Anaru Kupinga. He said that this particular esoteric school, whare wānanga, was the very first one in the Pacific. I'm not going to dispute him on that. It's his kōrero, and I respect it. The name of that whare wānanga of Maui is called Te Aho o Matariki. Aho, in this case, is a tauta or a connection or a line. Aho means string or line. Aho to Matariki. The kōrero is this, that when people die in his tribe or on the East Coast, which are the people of Maui, he says, they go to Hikurangi. Then on Hikurangi, the waka of Maui comes down and picks them up and takes them to Matariki. So already in your mind, knowing that the waka arangi comes up, Mata Moa teaches that the Taramai Nuku scoops up all the dead throughout the whole year. Then come the time of Matariki, all the ika or the tupana who are at the taurapa or sit at the taurapa or the feathers, the kurakura, they're taken up into the rangi tuhaha, which is the 12 heavens. So you're already making connections that death and going to the afterlife and Matariki are all connected, and tribes have their visions. Okay, next slide. What we're going to do is we're going to go a little bit deeper into the Tainui version of Matariki. So Tainui maintained that they have 7 stars in their cluster. It's not a competition. It's not about who has the most stars. In our whare wānanga of Ngāti Tāwhai, we have 12. But they're different. They're different from the stars that Mata Rangi gives. They're different to the stars that Wihongi gives. Okay, so they're different. What we have here is the Tapaki o Matariki. Tapaki means, one translation, you'll hear it a lot. Paki means the calm weather or calm. So Tapaki o Matariki is supposed to mean the calm of Matariki. Now that calm, you'll experience it during the winter period, and you'll know it. Also, that calm also comes in the summer period as well. Matariki isn't just a star cluster that you look in winter. You can look at it during the summer as well. And it was used by the people of Tainui when they traveled from Hawaii. They used Matariki as a guiding star or cluster of stars to guide their waka from Hawaii to Te Ika on Maui, which is New Zealand, Aotearoa. So it's not just about death, water, planting, da-da-da-da. It was also used as an arataki, which is a director or a guide for the waka to come over. Now, back in the late 1800s, King Tāwhiao had put out 2 manu. What I'm about to teach you is not common knowledge. He sent out 2 manu. These 2 manu, the manu are connected to stars, the manu korahi. All you astronomers, when you go out and you're watching the stars and you're watching the sun come up, what do you hear first? You hear the manu. The manu are the kauwairunga, or the aria. The aria means the shadow, or it's hard to explain that kupu. Aria of the stars during the day. The stars are the stars during the night. But the aria of the stars during the day are the manu and other kararehe, which are animals. So Tāwhiao sends out 2 manu. 1 manu goes to a gentleman by the name of Tiwai Praoni. Tiwai Paraone was from Miranda. He sends out another manu, which is to the tohunga Te Katoa. Te Katoa, his marae is called Aotearoa out there near Te Awamutu. He had sent a message out to them asking them to put together a coat of arms. They both were a little bit whakamā, especially Tiwai Paraone. Tiwai Paraone didn't want to do it. But the kōrero goes that King Tawhiao was quite insistent that they put together a coat of arms. So they come up with Te Paki o Matariki. So at the top, just briefly, you have the 7 stars of Matariki. You have an 8-pointed star on the top, and it's very large. I won't go into too much detail about that. All right, next slide. So we're just reviewing some iconography of the Kingitanga. We're looking at their version of cosmology, of Matariki, of the stars, of the moon. You'll find a lot with on our flags, on our different indigenous flags, be they the flag of Te Koti, the flag of the Kingitanga, and other flags of history. You'll see that they use a lot of astronomical devices, motifs. Very similar to any other flag, like the New Zealand flag has whititua, which is what my grandfather says or great-grandfather says is Southern Cross, whititua. So we're no different. Now let's just have a closer look at this flag. Okay, so you see the rainbow there, Uanuku. Beside Uanuku is the carving Uanuku. Yeah, I think I'll move on from there. To the right, you have Te Rā, which is the sun, Tamanui Te Rā. Then you have what I believe is the Uanuku moon, which is the 4th moon in the Maori lunar calendar. I could be wrong, but I believe it's the Uanuku moon because Uanuku is one of the main deities of Tainui. Then you have the 7 stars of Matariki. Now, if you take what I've just shown you in their totality, they're all interconnected, and there's a purpose for why those motifs are placed on their flag in the position that they're at. Okay. Okay, so we have the tauihu. Now, you'll see that the tauihu, which is the front of the waka, all of you think of Te Waka Arangi, all right, Mātāmoa's waka. At the front of the waka is Matariki. One of the names that Tainui give Matariki is Te Mata o Hoturo. Now, if you're Maori and you're from Tainui, this is probably the first time you've heard that kōrero. Te Mata o Hoturo. Now, Hoturo is the name of the captain of the Tainui waka. So the translation of Te Mata o Hoturo is the eyes of Hoturo. Where are they placed? They're placed at the front of the waka. Okay. What else have we got here? Then you have the symbol of Christianity. And the Kingitanga was based on Christianity because the Bible was placed or touched the head of Potato, the whiro when he was raised up, when he was coronated to become the king. I'm a Christian myself, and I'm a proud Christian, and also I'm a proud Maori as well. Okay, next slide. Te Waka Arangi. You're all familiar with this picture because you've got the book, you've been to the different presentations that Rangi has given. He calls it Te Waka Arangi. Tainui call it Te Waka o Tainui. And if you go to the next slide, you'll see it. That's Te Waka o Tainui. This particular publication came up before Rangi came up with his Te Waka o Rangi. So we've had this waka and known this waka for many, many years. Well, hey, since the beginning of time, or the beginning of when the waka o Tainui came over, there's a constellation that our people of Tainui already knew. It's a little bit different because, like I said, all tribes have different traditions. Let's go to the next slide, and it could possibly be the last slide. Okay, there you go. So there's 7 stars there. This comes from a mural, by the way, a star chart that was painted by a gentleman by the name of Tane Taylor. Tane Taylor was known as the star man within Ngāti Maniapoto and within Waikato. And there you have it. He is named the cluster of Matariki Tamata o Hoturoa. Now, just a bit more kōrero about the Tainui Waka. When they were contemplating building the Tainui Waka in Hawaii, the main tohunga tarai, tarai means to far away, to chisel, tarai. The main tohunga tarai was Rakataura. As an aside, the Rakataura is descended from the star Puanganui. There's a bit of kōrero there for you. Now, when they were contemplating the design of how to shape the waka, Rakataura went to a tohunga rohine, which is a female tohunga, and her name was called Mahu Arangi. Mahu is a name of a star in the south. Some would say it's the Southern Cross, Mahu Tonga. But her name was Mahu Arangi, and he asked her, e whaia, e kuia, how should I shape the waka? And she said, look at the first, or look at the new moon, which is Whiro. Now, you can't actually see Whiro very well, but it's a very, very thin sliver, okay? Very, very thin, and you all know that because you're astronomers. I don't need to tell you that, but the new moon has a very thin sliver, but it goes up like a crescent, like a smiley face, yeah? A crescent moon. Those 2 horns of that particular crescent moon are called, by my people on the East Coast, they call those horns of a crescent moon Tamata o Hoturoa. So what you have is you have the waka built in the shape of the first moon of the lunar calendar. You have the captain of the Tainui Waka called Hoturoa. Hoturoa, in one lunar calendar that I have from Ngāti Hawa, I take that back from Ngāti Tangata, they're out at the Kaimai Sea. Their 14th moon is called Hoturoa. Hoturoa, the captain, married Whakaotarangi. She was Ariki Tapairu. She was a descendant of Mapuna Kitarangi. Whakaotarangi, according to Peter Hurunu Jones, who was a very astute Maori scholar, kaumātua, and by rights a tohunga of Tainui, said that Whakaotarangi means solstice. Hoturoa's second wife was called Marama. How beautiful is that? You have all these astronomical connections tied into not only the names of our tupuna who came on the waka, but in the waka itself, in order for that trip, that intrepid journey from Hawaii to Te Ikao Maui was successful. This is the type of tikanga that our tupuna incorporated in their daily life, but especially when they came over on the waka. It was said back in the 50s and the 60s that we drifted here by mistake. There's kei te he. That's incorrect. The whakapapa and the kōrero I've just given to you says that's incorrect. It was a purposeful journey. Now, I haven't even got right into the deep guts of that kōrero, but it goes pretty deep in terms of the kōrero, the kauwairunga around the migration. At this point, I want to open up the floor for questions. You may not have questions. You may just want to sit there and ponder over some of the things that I've shared, but I want this to be a takeaway. I want you to understand that the Rangi Mata Moa's version is only one version, and it's become the convention. Okay, but I hope that other narratives come out, and this is the start of it. We hope that in our whare tātai arorangi that we train people who go back to their tribes and go back to their communities and who revive those stories from the tangata whenua of those particular areas. Ngāti Whātua will have their version. Interesting enough, my wife and I went on a trip to Fiji. We went on the ship. Here's the cool thing. We went over to serve the Lord. We went on the plane first. 2 weeks later, we went on a ship. We found it like a little nook where you could just sit down and have some private time. So me being me, I take my notebooks. I'm looking at the stars. I'm looking at the sun as we travel on the cruise ship. So I'm writing stuff down, and I look to my left, and there's someone sitting 2 rows down or 2 seats down, and she's reading the Rangi Mata Moa's book. And I said to her, "Hey, that's Rangi's book. How awesome! Talk to me about it." So we did, and she said to me, "I want to share something with you." She said, "We had a kapa haka competition, which is our traditional performance kapa haka. We had a kapa haka competition up in Auckland with Ngāti Whātua. And she said, we done a poi around Matariki, but we mentioned 7 stars and not 9. And we got marked down by the judges because we didn't say 9. I said, isn't that interesting? And I said, but is that your kōrero? She says, no, we were judged based on Rangi's book. It should have been 9 and not 7. I says, no, you stick to your knowledge and you hold to your guns. So like I said, in our whare tātai arorangi, we want to train individuals who revive and resurrect kōrero from their own people, tangata whenua. So if there's any questions there, Richard, I'm happy to answer them.
Okay, sorry, I just had to juggle a few audio things. So Ben Cullen was mentioning it was quite interesting to hear about the differences between sort of the beliefs of when you die. So you spoke earlier about the teacher up north who was saying that when people die, they go up to Ururangi.
Yes.
He wants to know, how's that different to the others who go to Hawaii from Cape Reinga?
Oh, okay, cool. Okay, so, most of you probably believe that the dead of the Maori go to Te Reinga, which is Cape Reinga. That's only for some tribes, but again, it's become the conventional kōrero around death and around the dead going to the arai or going to the tua or whai tua to the world hereafter. For the people of Ngāti Pikiao, they go to a maunga called Maunga Whaura, okay, which is a maunga that is on Lake Lotuiti. They go there. Then they go to Hawaii. The Wanganui people, they don't go to Te Reinga. Well, let me just talk about Ururangi. Ururangi, let's just break up the word. Uru means to enter. Uru is another name for light. One of the atua of light is called Uru Tangangana. So when you hear the word Uru, it normally means to enter or it means light. Ururangi, to enter into the heavens. Here's what it did say about the gentleman, the kaumātua up north. He said, before the Maori people, and this is going to meet you, before the Maori people come to Papatūānuku, they actually lived at Matariki. Now, my other grandfather, Witaka Rangi Maori order, said that before the Maori came here, they lived in the 12 heavens. In the kōrero in Auckland, one of the 12 heavens is Papatūānuku. I already mentioned that Papatūānuku was considered a star in Matariki. Ngāti Whātua have a kōrero that one of the 12 heavens is Papatūānuku. So that's another demonstration of how kōrero is really different, but we get stuck in our mind on one version. Okay? Kia ora.
Okay, we had a little bit of visual issues on there, I think just with the connection, but the voice is okay, so we're all good there. We've got another one that's saying, how should we, Pākahā, seek to understand the stars ourselves in a culturally appropriate way, given all the differences in interpretation across different tribes across the country?
What a great question. What a progressive question. What a great question. And you put it very succinctly and you're very articulate. Okay. Wherever you are, be it Hamilton, Auckland, Matamata, wherever, try and find out what the traditions are of the people there. That's basically it. I would say enjoy all the kōrero that's coming out. Enjoy Rangi Mātāmua's kōrero. If you want to use it and celebrate that particular version, I encourage you to do so. Enjoy whatever comes out, and a lot more is going to come out, and a lot has come out tonight.
Okay, I've got another question saying, could you ask more about Tamanui Te Rā's wives? And
Tamanui Te Rā's wives, and I know the kōrero's Hini Takarua and Hini Raumati. Okay. All right. That version is a very tūhoi version. Okay, so I'll give you one whakapapa, one kōrero. I don't know if it answers the question, but in Waikato, Tamanui Te Rā was birthed by the moon. He marries Atatuhi. Atatuhi is the morning light. Okay, see how simple that is? See how simple our indigenous knowledge is. The sun comes up, but before you see the sun, you see the light. The light and the sun are touching one another. That's your sleeping together. That's your marriage. So in traditional Māori marriage, we didn't have a ceremony. There was just a tono where parents get together and say, I think your son would be great for my daughter. This is only one way. And they say, okay, yeah, we agree. They came together, they slept together, and they were wedded for life. Okay? So, very, very simple. Now, so the sun comes from the kopu, which is the womb of the moon. And that's different to the fact that the sun is actually the older brother of the moon, which is the younger sibling. And they come from, according to one version, Tango Tango and Wainui. His wives, Hini Takurua and Hini Raumati, Whaia Reko Reko is another one, Hini Reko Reko is another one. He has different wives according to different versions. But that's what I can say for now.
Okay, great. So Ben's asking again, he says, what are the strongest commonalities across the various Maori groups for stories of the stars? It seems most tribes would know Venus as Mary Mary, as the evening star. That seems to be common, but are there other common ones as well?
Yeah, Rehua seems to be pretty common. Matariki, there's a gentleman up north, he's a tohunga. He passed away in 1935. He said when he was taught as a child by a tohunga that Rehua was serious. Rehua is also said by another tribe, and I won't say who, and I won't say who gave me this kōrero, but Rehua is Pūtātara, Betelgeuse. But the commonality is Rehua is Antares. Matariki seems to be the same. Kopu is also Venus. Pariaro seems to be pretty common. Hene Tiwika is her other name. Hene Itiwika. What is different is Mercury and Mars. Runuku Iri Apo is one name for Mercury. Another name is Tariao. So there are differences. And in fact, the differences in the cosmology, the stars are actually quite divergent in some areas.
Yeah, one of the ones that came up was Takurua, Sirius. Is that the same pretty much across all of New Zealand?
So in Takurua, there's these two sets of stars that are part of the same whānau or family, which is the Kokota, and the Wero stars in Te Kokota, which is Aldebaran, and then the Takurua family, the Kahui or Takurua. They seem to be from the same family. And Mata Moa hasn't quite talked about that. I've got all the stars in that constellation. I won't share it tonight because that's reserved for the school. Yeah.
So talking about the school, how is the school going to operate? Can Ben join the school? You know, if people are interested, how is that all going to work?
Yeah, cool. So these levels of entry, we're looking at doing a level 4 and a level 5 environmental certificate on behalf, or we're going to facilitate it. It's a course actually developed by Awanui Arangi down in Whakatane. Anyone can join those courses. The level 4 is very manamataka heavy, and it's very, very interesting. I've got all the facilitator manuals, and it's quite comprehensive and it's very, very interesting. Anyone can attend that. However, when you get to the upper levels, which is the upper jawbone, yeah, that's a different story. So the school operates, the way that it's going to operate is this. There's a research department, and that's probably the biggest part. We're still in the phase of reviving some of this knowledge and tracking it down. So beside me is my trunk. It's full of manuscripts, whakapapa, star charts, the lot. But we're still gathering stuff. So my outsider, you would say, the other tohunga, is Pauroto. Pauroto was brought up the traditional way by many of the kuia and kaumātua, and he has many manuscripts himself. In fact, he inherited the David Simmons papers. So many of you might know David Simmons, who was the curator at Auckland Museum. When he passed away, all his papers at his home were given to Pauroto. So they're coming down to Whakatane and they're going to be part of our archive. We also have a circle of experts, and some of them are going to be like Richard, if he so pleases to help. But we're doing a collaboration with the Whakatane Astronomical Society, because we need Western science and Western astronomy, and we need that type of component and someone who's expert in that in our team. So you have a circle of team members who are matatau. Matatau means knowledgeable in their particular expertise in the field, and we will deliberate like a runanga. So we'll meet once a month, and we'll share knowledge. We will also look at the tohu, which is the science. I don't know how many Christians are watching this, but the Lord told us to look for the signs, and he gave many astronomical signs for us to look for. Many of our Maori prophets did the same thing. They prophesied different tohu that are going to happen before the return of Christ. So those are the types of things that we will be involved with. We've got a couple of projects. One project is this, I'll show you. I don't know if you can see this. Okay, it's upside down. Now, I would appreciate when you get the recording, do not pause and zoom in on this, okay? Okay, now what I just showed you was a blueprint of the ancient whare wānanga in Hawaii called wharekura. That particular whare nui was an esoteric school, but it was also a runanga. The kōrero from Reverend Richard Taylor says that around that wharenui were 70 houses. In the middle of that blueprint, of that drawing of a wharenui, is a pole called Potu Maro. Potu Maro means zenith. When the sun hits AM or sun hits PM, or the zenith, 12 o'clock, it's called Potu Maro. That's a very unusual name to call the middle or centre po, Potu Maro. It should be called Po Toko Manawa. Manawa meaning heart or centre, or the heart po of a wharenui. So what I'm doing is taking that and the knowledge that comes with it and turn it into a model of a coordinate model that rivals the Western model, but it's going to be an Indigenous one. So many of you will know Nainoa Thompson, who is the tohunga of the Hokurea, the Waka Haurua from Hawaii. He uses a star compass, and everyone uses that star compass. Most Waka navigators, but Maori don't have one. All we've done is adapted his one and given it Maori words. But I want to create something as part of our projects at our school to create our own coordinate system. To delve a little bit deeper into that, we have the names of the 24 hours of the clock, Māori names. I'm yet to confirm whether that is actually accurate. But what we want to do is, in order for someone to go outside and know what time it is without looking at the watch, we need to plot out exactly which star comes up at which time over the horizon throughout the whole year. And then we say, okay, that star has hit this altitude, we know it's 1 o'clock. Or something like that. So we want to develop a system that's Indigenous, and that's part of what we want to do as a school.
Okay, so one other question that's popped up is, when is Matariki?
Okay, when is Matariki? Good point. So you can all do your research, and you'll find that in your research it always says in the middle of June. Most of the kōrero says the middle of June. And then next to that information is after the new moon. For some reason, it's now the Tangaroa moons. And Rangi Mātāmoa has his justifications and his logic, because his information came from his tūpuna. From our whare wānanga, it's after the new moon. On the east coast, in Maketu, it's during the dark phases, which is the winter solstice. That is when they look for Matariki, because it's the most darkest. But they have a logic. There's a philosophy and a logic behind it that's traditional to them. So that's your answer. Matariki, we hit Matariki before, like last month, in my opinion.
A bit different to my one. I think I said the 6th of July was my prediction. But again,
yeah, well, that's fine. You have a Matariki month. As long as you're still following the moon calendar and the stars of the season, when you do your planting, you're going to be fine.
So another question which popped up was, with Maori astronomy, how does it relate to the other Pacific Islanders' sort of astronomical beliefs?
Very cool. That's another project that we want to do as a school. I've got a lot of that knowledge from the Pacific. I recommend the book. I'm not going to give you a copy. I've got a PDF. It was given to me by a cultural astronomer from Hawaii. But I recommend the book, the Rising of the Morning Star, I believe it's called. It was written in the 1940s by Markinson, a brilliant researcher. It has a catalogue of the Pacific stars, but it goes deeper into research around the similarities between the islands. Okay, so the Maui brothers, there's 5 of them. Maui Mua, Maui Taha, Maui Pai, Maui Roto, Maui Tiki Tiki Ataranga. It's this Maori that fished up New Zealand. These Maori brothers are stars. I'm not going to tell you where they are. Now, when did they become stars? During their time? When they were alive? No, because that's not what tradition says. Tradition says that when you die, you become a star. If you're a rangatira, your left eye becomes a star. So what I'm saying is we built up our astronomical knowledge. We had our core stars. So if you've gone to listen to Rangi, he says there are 15 rangatira stars. Those rangatira stars are stars that come from the marriage of Rangi and Papa. They're not mortals. Okay? Then you had mortals who become stars, who then added to the depth and the complexity of our cosmology and our astronomy. Does that make sense? Here Nui Te Pō is a star. Her sisters are stars. Whaitiri, which is the goddess of thunder, is a star. They weren't stars in their time, they became stars. So as we move through the Pacific, from Maori, we built up our astronomical knowledge, if that makes sense.
Ben was mentioning he had a look in that program Stellarium, and it's got a Maori sky culture kind of section on it. But he says it's only got one or two constellations, example the Waka of Tanui, which includes Matariki as the prow of the Waka. What are some others which Stellarium needs to get onto?
Oh, heaps. There's heaps of them. Even the Waka itself needs more stars. Pūtātara, which is a trumpet. The Maui brothers, the Whare-Wānanga, the Hook, the mountains. There are mountains that are stars. There are lakes that are stars. There are hangi pits that are stars. Hangi pits. Yeah, a lot can be added there, Cameron.
So Martin says he was out, and he was also quite mystified by the that very white color of the moon. So this is interesting because a lot of people notice these things and they don't actually know what it signifies, which I find quite interesting. Could you talk a bit more about, let's say, color of the moon and your experience?
Sure. So I got a friend who was trained as a young boy by his great grandfather, and he was put through the Whare-Wānanga. He's now a tohunga. He graduated when he was in his teens. He was with his grandfather for 9 years straight, and his grandfather taught him about the stars and about the manamataka. And he said one of the things that he said was that on I believe it's the ninth moon, which is tamatea, tamatea whakapau. The ninth moon, if it is orange, you do not go eeling. Or if it's red, you don't go eeling because you won't catch anything. Okay? Look, during the time when we had the massacre down in Christchurch, I was watching the moon. The moon aged really fast, and you might think, oh, it's just superstitious nonsense. It aged really, really quickly. What that meant was that we went from the tamatea moons straight into the huna moon, which was the 10th moon. And then we skipped a moon. Because I watched it, we skipped it. The color of the moon was the color of piro, which is the color of decay. It was a yellowy color around about 6 o'clock. This is during March, so you still got light at March. So it was a yellow color, and it was actually quite high in the sky. Really, your yellow color comes on turu, what they say turu, which is near the horizon, and you've seen it. but it was quite high in the sky and it was actually yellow. And to me, it looked like pedo, which is rotten teeth, yellow teeth. So I don't know if there's any validity to that, but yeah. What else can I say about that? Luminosity is important. It affects the tail. It affects everything. The position of the moon, the size of the moon, also which stars are out at the same time as the moon. But we won't go into too much detail about that.
So if we have a look at something like a bit more practical, okay, I want to go out eeling, as you mentioned earlier. I go out and I have a look at the night sky. What are sort of the practical things that I could look at and go, okay, tonight's going to be a good night for eeling?
Yeah, cool. So there's a rule of thumb. Eeling is really good on Tangaroa moons, but my great-great-grandfather says the best time of fishing is during the first quarter and the last quarter, which is the tamatea moons, which is 6, 7, 8, and 9, your ninth moon day, and then your Tangaroa phase, which is 23, 24, 25, and 26. Those are the best times to fish. But then Grandpa said the optimal time is during the Tangaroa phases, which is your last quarter. That's the best time to fish. Isn't it interesting that on the opposite scale or the opposite end of the lunar calendar, those two places or moons are the best to fish? Now, let's make some connection here. Tamatea is my ancestor. He was the captain of the Takitimu Waka. On that waka was another ancestor by the name of Tangaroa. Tamatea, if you break up the word, tama, boy, man, boy, tia means white, clear, or light. Aotearoa, which is the long white cloud or the long white. So tamatea is the moons that come out of the dark phase. They've broken the back of the dark phase. The kōrero from Ngāi Tahu says this: Tamatea used to be the atua of the morning light. Tangaroa used to be the atua of the morning light. Now it's tamatea. There was a reverse. Something happened. When you're Maori, and what I'm explaining to you in your Maori, you understand it. It's very hard to explain in with a Western paradigm. But yeah.
So for me, anyone who knows me knows I love growing chilies. I'm a great chili fan. But one of the problems I always have is, when I take the seedlings out and put them outside, inevitably I get that one frost that comes through and pushes everything back to the start again. Is it possible to use Maori astronomy and look at all these different things to know when the best time would be for me to put my chili plants out?
Okay, just on that, wind always, if you have wind, you won't have frost. The way that you tell if there's going to be wind is you look at the Magellanic clouds. Okay, and also Canopus. Canopus, if it flashes to the south, I'll just say, I won't say too much. When it flashes to the south, you'll know that there's going to be wind. So if you say, for instance, you want to plant and you know historically the weather's it's going to be a frost, you might want to look for that windy period or when the wind's going to pick up. And you say, oh, well, we're not going to have a frost. Also, you'll notice, many of you will have noticed that we had sunny weather at the start of June. We've got cloudy weather and it's warm. Hey, the clouds have provide cover and have provided a buffer to trap the heat. When there's no cloud, which is called mahoro nui atea, when there's no cloud, all the heat escapes into space. It's cold. So those are just some of the things you can look for when you're thinking about planting chilies.
Yeah, that's some very good advice there. I'll certainly heed it come springtime, and I'm ready to get them out there. And of course, when I make my chili sauce, I'll send you some as well.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Um, so let's see. Roger says it's amazing to think about the different people going back through the ages and their relationships to the stars. Lots to learn. And he says thanks for a very interesting talk.
Kia ora.
And I think that's quite true. Our knowledge is always built on the backs of our ancestors. So as our ancestors have learned, we keep on building up that knowledge. So it's our duty to keep alive that knowledge of our ancestors, as well as add to it to pass on to the newer generation. And I feel that that's what you guys are doing with this new school, which is why we are very, very supportive of it. And we really wish you guys very well with it. And I think it's a really important thing, not just for the community, not just for astronomy, but I think for the whole of New Zealand as well.
Thank you.
So I think we'll call it a night there. It's been a really good time. Time's just flown past. Thank you very, very much. We really, really appreciate it. There've been quite a few comments of people saying thanks very much. And I really look forward to, now that you're a member, that we hear from you again and again and again, so that you share your knowledge with us. So for everyone else, thank you again for attending. Don't forget, it's a very busy week this week, so we've got on the 9th at 7:30, we've got Anthony Gomez from Wellington Astronomical. He's going to be speaking on how small our actual whole galaxy is, and sort of everything that's in the near to us. And of course, the big one is coming up on Sunday afternoon. That's about 2 o'clock. I will confirm those times. That's Fraser Kane, who is going to be talking to us as well. So quite a few things to look forward to. Quite busy this week. So again, thank you, Piripi, for that amazing talk to really kick it off. So without further ado, I'll say goodbye to the YouTube stream, and I'll just stay on the Zoom for a little bit so we can have a bit of a chat. So thanks very much, everyone. Good night.